Hello and welcome to Joe Stunner Boxing. There's an appearance by Nick Ball on Saturday, the only male British world champion that we have currently. Nick Ball, the WBA featherweight champion. And he's taking on Sam Goodman, the undefeated Sam Goodman, who's from Australia. He's 26 years of age, Goodman, 20 wins, only 8 KOs, no draws, no defeats. And Goodman, in fact, is moving up from super-bantamweight. This is going to be, I think, his debut at featherweight. He was scheduled to fight Naoya Inoue twice, but it didn't happen. He had a cut, I think it was to his forehead or his scalp. There was some sort of head cut, bad head cut, that resulted in the Inoue fight being cancelled the first time, and then the second time round, it was because the cut reopened. And that does beg the question, is this cut going to open when he fights Nick Ball? Well, Nick Ball, he calls himself the Wrecking Ball. Fireball would be another good nickname. But if anyone's going to open any scar tissue, it's going to be Nick Ball, because this little bastard is a tough little sod. 28 years of age, only 5'2", which is short for a featherweight, short for a flyweight. But what a little terrier he is. A very, very entertaining fighter. Can be hit, can be not wobbled. I don't think I've ever seen him really badly wobbled, but if you can be hit, you can be hurt. Doesn't matter how good your chin is. And he will come flying at you from all angles, from the off. And Sam Goodman, who has a low KO percentage, and is moving up from super bantamweight, there's a big question mark immediately over whether he's got the power to contain Nick Ball's, unbridled aggression. So as far as Ball is concerned, he is, even though he's very short for the weight, he is, I think he's fought his whole career at featherweight. I think he's been as high as super featherweight early on in his career. I may be wrong about that. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. But anyway, he scored some very good wins on the way up. He was the first, I think, was he the first person or the second person to beat Isaac Lowe? He was brought in as an unknown. That was at Wembley Stadium on the undercard of, was it Fury and Dillian White, or was it Fury and Derek Chisora? It was one of those god-awful undercards, Fury Stadium undercards. And he stopped Isaac Lowe in 6 rounds. And, Isaac Lowe is no great shakes, but he's not a bad domestic level fighter, so a decent enough win. And then he started smashing through people. Jesus Ramirez Rubio got done in a round. He scored a 12th round KO over someone whose name escapes me, Lamati, I think the guy's name was. He was undefeated in 21, 22 fights. Then he fought Isaac Dogbay, former world champ. Again, super bantamweight really, but this was for one of those WBC silver trinkets or something. And he won a unanimous decision over Dogbay. He won most of the rounds. I think he probably won about 9 or 10 of the rounds, if memory serves. Then he had a world title shot. This was for the WBC featherweight title against Ray Vargas. Vargas came in with 36 wins, 1 defeat. And Vargas was actually floored in the 8th and the 11th round, and most people thought Ball had won that fight. I thought it was very close despite the knockdowns, because I think Vargas was not... Vargas began very well. The first 6 rounds, he definitely was ahead, and then Ball came on strong in the second half of the fight. I thought Ball edged it, but there wasn't a tremendous amount in it. The knockdowns were probably the difference, and I thought, no, you put a gun to my head, I'm going to say Ball's won. I do genuinely think he won. But it wasn't this, massive, colossal robbery that, people scream that word at the tops of their voices. They ain't really got a clue what it means. Just, it's like a catch-all word. But I did think Ball beat Vargas. Okay, split draw. All right, never mind. Down to experience. Bit of a blot on the record, but never mind, because that same year, which is 2024, only 3 months later, he went in against Raymond Ford, the American, undefeated in 15 wins and a draw, I think he had at the time. And this time, the split decision went for Nick Ball. He won a split decision over Ray Ford and took the WBA featherweight title, which he has held since then. He's defended it against Ronnie Rios, who he stopped in 10 rounds. Rios probably seen better days. Good fighter, world class, yeah. And then Ball took on TJ Donahue, who had been stopped in 7, I think, by Inoue. Again, moving up in weight from super bantam to featherweight. Bit of bad blood in that fight. Ball was a mile ahead when he stopped. I think Donahue was retired after 10 rounds. But there was a little vignette early on in that fight which shows that Ball is a little fireball and hot-headed, because there was a punch from Donahue. I think Donahue was in his corner, and the round ended, and Donahue clocked Ball half a second after the bell, and Ball kicked him. And to be honest with you, he is lucky he wasn't disqualified. Some referees would have slung him out there and then. Okay, it was in Liverpool. Ball is a Liverpool fighter from the Everton Triangle stable, but he could have been thrown out. He certainly could have had a couple of points taken off him. In fact, he had a point taken off in the 9th for throwing Donahue on the floor. He's a very rough and tumble fighter, Nick Ball. Very, very aggressive. But he does have that hot-headed mentality. And I think a cool, calm, vicious, spiteful opponent would recognise that and would probably wind him up and try and get him to lose his rag. There's this idea where you don't sort of prod the slumbering lion, do you? Otherwise it'll come for you, claws out and everything. But there's a flip side to that, which is if the opponent loses his temper, it's all over. Do you know what I mean? It's you get chinned. You can get chinned because you get reckless. You're fighting with your heart, not your head. Is Sam Goodman the person to bring that out of Nick Ball? In my opinion, no. Okay, he is undefeated in 20 with 8 KOs. I have to be honest, I had not seen a lot of Sam Goodman. He has, I think every single one of his fights has been in Australia. He is only 26, so this might be one of those, if he can give a good account of himself, obviously if he can win it, it'll change his life. But even if he, say, loses a tough fight on points or gets stopped late or something, he can come back. He's got plenty of time. But of course, you've got to turn up to win. And I find it, from what I've seen on YouTube of Sam Goodman, and I haven't seen a great deal, I've seen some, and I'm sure I've seen him, because I was watching bits and pieces on YouTube, and I thought, I've seen this guy before, but I just can't remember where. And that normally means that I'm not that impressed, because the impressive ones I remember. But he looks, like he's an orthodox fighter. He does everything, and he does the basics very well. He's in shape. He looks dedicated. He says the right things in interviews. Every one of his fights has been in Australia, so how will he travel? This, by the way, is in Riyadh, not in England, which you could argue is a neutral turf. It is a neutral turf, although it's promotionally it's not neutral, because Queensbury promote Nick Ball. And looking at Goodman's resume, which is again at super bantamweight, not featherweight, he has wins over a couple of undefeated fighters quite recently, the last 2 years, but I've never heard of them. They're Australian fighters. Zong Liu, I think, was one. I think he was undefeated at 18 or 19. Another guy who sounded like he was, the name looked Taiwanese perhaps. He was undefeated in 25, 26 fights. And Sam outpointed both of those guys. So he doesn't mind going the distance. The engine on the guy is pretty good. And from what I could tell, he was, winning those rounds pretty easily. He does box very well. He's not a bad little boxer. He's also got a 10-round points win over TJ Donahue, who I've just mentioned has fought both Inoue and Nick Ball. That was a unanimous decision. He won most of the rounds. That is one of the fights I did see of his. He won 8 rounds, 7, 8 rounds, I think. Again, I'm doing it from memory. But, nothing really jumped out and hit me about the guy, you know what I mean? Like I say, there isn't a great deal that was really, really that memorable. He's one of those steady eddies, Sam Goodman. Good, decent, kind of like George Kambosos, not so much in style, but just the fact that he does everything well, but nothing great. So it's difficult. I've got to be honest, it's very difficult for me seeing a way in which he can beat Nick Ball. He's a smaller guy. He doesn't hit hard. Nothing stands out where you think, oh, Ball's got to be careful of this thing, like maybe the jab, or he hooks well off the jab, or his footwork, so he's very elusive. There's nothing really hits me that would scare Ball at all, and I think I make Nick Ball a very, very heavy favourite in this fight. How will he win? I would say possibly by stoppage, 9 or 10 rounds, 8, 9, 10, that sort of period of the fight. I don't really see. I mean, I see Goodman fighting his heart out. Maybe imagine to sort of, fiddle his way through the storm for so many rounds. But once Nick Ball gets into the groove, and he is pretty relentless, I think Goodman will start to wilt a bit. Having said that, there have been fights where the actual output, Nick Ball's output, in the second half of the fight has waned a little bit. He can be hit, don't get me wrong. I mean, look at the Ray Ford fight. That was a give and take. He was getting hit. He was getting clocked. And Ronnie Rios had little patches where he was doing some decent enough work. Vargas was another one. Vargas was hitting him. And this first half of that fight, that's probably the worst or the most arduous it's been for Nick Ball, first half of that Ronnie Rios fight. So, the Vargas fight, excuse me. The Ray Vargas fight. The first half of that fight was hard going for Nick Ball. But I do think he's going to have too much for Goodman. I think he's going to be too physically strong as well. When he gets up close, he's going to be draining Goodman's energy with a superior physicality, even though, again, I repeat, he's only 5'2", a right little pocket rocket. And Goodman's probably, I think he's 5'6", 5'7", something like that. So can he use the height, make that an advantage? To be honest, not over 12 rounds. No, not over 12 rounds. I don't see it happening. But so I'm going to go for Nick Ball to win this contest in about 10 rounds, 8 to 10, 8 rounds, 10 rounds. But if you may disagree, maybe you know more about Sam Goodman than I do. If so, leave your comments below. I know a lot of Australian fans subscribe to this channel, so please, if you know more about Sam Goodman than I do, tell me where you think he's got a chance. Do you think he's going to win? What am I missing? What don't I know? You tell me. It's the whole point of the bloody channel, All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you for watching anyway. And if you did enjoy this video, please like it and also subscribe to the channel if you don't mind, because you're building the channel up. We want to get lots of subscribers. It is your channel as much as mine. If no one watches, a bit bloody pointless, isn't it? Just an echo chamber. But with you guys and girls leaving your comments, I always enjoy reading them, so please do so. All right, thank you very much, and I will catch you later. Bye for now.